world's Gen Z. Everyone is talking about the Houthis.
They take orders from Iran.
The conflict between Hezbollah and Israeli forces along Lebanon's southern border.
Iranian authorities enacted a violent crackdown on the woman life freedom protests that followed the death in police custody of Mahsa Amini.
The 900-mile border between Iraq and Iran has become increasingly porous, as it's mostly fallen under the control of Iran-backed Shia militias.
With the ongoing crisis in Israel and Palestine, it seems as if the Iranian government, Hezbollah, and the Houthi rebels are everywhere in the news right now. And while reading the news, you may have noticed that all these groups claim to follow Shia Islam. But what is Shia Islam? To start, the Shia are the second largest branch of Islam in the world. However, they actually only make up anywhere from like 10 to 15% of all Muslims. And unfortunately, like most minorities, they are often persecuted and stereotyped by the majority, who in this case are Muslims following Sunni Islam. For example, both the Taliban and ISIS have launched brutal attacks against the Shia living in Iraq and Afghanistan. Unfortunately, this theme of persecution is going to show up time and time again as we discuss their history. Now, like any other religious group, the Shia are by no means a monolith, and within Shiism we actually find another three sects: Twelvers, Ismailis, and Zaydis. In this video, we're only really going to be looking at the Twelvers, as they make up 80% of all Shia today. And it's also the branch followed by the Islamic Republic of Iran and Hezbollah. However, you may recognize some of those other sects I mentioned, like for example the Zaydis, who despite being an incredibly small community, are often in the news because of the Zaydi militant group Ansar Allah, or as you may know them, the Houthi rebels. If we are to understand who the Twelver Shia are, we first need to understand why the Muslim community split into two in the first place. So, after the Prophet Muhammad passed away, he was succeeded by four leaders who were chosen as caliph: Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and his cousin and son-in-law, Ali ibn Abu Talib. Sunni Muslims hold all these men to be righteous and agree that this was the correct order of those who should have succeeded Muhammad. However, the Shia believe that that fourth caliph, Ali, was actually appointed by Muhammad as his successor on the day of Ghadir Qum. But what's a Ghadir Qum? Ghadir Qum was a sermon delivered by Muhammad towards the end of his life, during which the Prophet made two statements which would create the core Shia identity. Let's start with the first one. The Prophet of God said, "He whose Mawla I am, Ali is his Mawla." Now you'll notice the word Mawla is purposefully untranslated, as how you interpret this word really depends if you are a Sunni or a Shia. The Sunnis say that Mawla only means friend, so all the Prophet did was designate Ali as his close companion. The Shia, however, believe Mawla means not just friend, but also master or authority. So what Muhammad really said was, "He whose master I am, Ali is his master," thus appointing Ali as his successor. And because the first three caliphs did not uphold this position, many Shia believe that they became disbelievers for not following the Prophet's command. The second statement we'll talk about is when the Prophet said, "I left among you two treasures, which if you cling to them, you shall not be led into error after me. One of them is greater than the other, the Book of God, which is a rope stretched from heaven to earth, and my progeny, my Ahl Bayt. These two shall not be parted until they return to the pool of paradise." Now, that was a lot of words, so let's break it down a bit. The Shia say that this undeniably proves that Ali, being the Prophet's family, and all of Ali's descendants are the spiritual and political authority of the Muslims, and have unique spiritual and esoteric insights into the Quran's true meaning, as the Prophet's progeny, aka Ali and his descendants, will not be separated from the Quran until they return to heaven. This event is now celebrated by the Shia as Eid al-Ghadir. Now that we've laid the foundation that the Shia follow Muhammad and his descendants, we can begin to go a bit deeper. Cause in order to understand Shiism today, it's not enough to simply understand why the Shia split. We need to begin to understand their rich history. Ali and his 11 descendants / successors are referred to by the Shia as the 12 Imams. This is where the Twelver Shia get their name from. Other Shia sects disagree on who succeeded Ali and how many of them were there, but this video is about the Twelvers. After Ghadir Khum, the early Shia community was more a political group than a religious one. In fact, the term Shia is derived from the term of Shia Ali, which means partisan of Ali or party of Ali. It's the 11 Imams after Ali which would begin to shape the Shia identity into something closer to what we see today. Now, while all the Shia Imams are incredibly important and definitely worth discussing, we don't have time for them all today. So let's start with probably the next most influential Imam after Ali, Hussein. After Imam Ali was murdered by a group called the Khawarij, there were two big competitors for the title of Caliph: Ali's oldest son, Hassan, and the governor of Syria, Muawiyah. Muawiyah would eventually take the title of Caliph and establish the Umayyad Caliphate. After Muawiyah's death, his son Yazid would eventually take the throne. According to tradition, Yazid was a tyrant, and many people wished for a change in leadership. At this point, Hassan had already died, but Ali's other son, Hussein, was still alive. So the Shia of Iraq promised to support Hussein with an army and make him their caliph if he came to Kufa. So Hussein departs from Mecca with his family and a small party of retainers, and on the day of Ashura, whilst traveling to Kufa, Hussein runs into an army dispatched by Yazid at the field of Karbala. Despite overwhelming odds, Hussein and his small force fought valiantly, and in the ensuing battle, Hussein and much of his family were martyred. After they were killed, their bodies were horrifically mutilated. This event deeply scarred the future generations of Shia. Now each year on the day of Ashura, Shia communities mourn the martyrdom of Hussein. As part of the mourning rituals and activities, Shia Muslims may make pilgrimage to Hussein's shrine in Karbala, or act out at Tatsiyah, which are plays acting out the Battle of Karbala, similar to Christian Passion plays. Many Shia also beat their chest or heads in a sort of solidarity with the suffering of Hussein. Hussein would go on to be immortalized as a global symbol for social justice for many people, not just Shia. Gandhi himself said, and I quote, that he learned from Hussein how to attain victory while being oppressed. Moving on from Hussein, the next of the 12 Imams I want to talk about is Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, who may be one of the most influential scholars in all of Islam. Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq became the Shia Imam at the age of 31, after his father was martyred. During his life, the Imam saw the fall of the Umayyads and the rise of the Abbasid Caliphate. Although despite all the wars and politics going on in his time, he stayed away from all of this, instead focusing at his university in Medina. He would teach many students at this university, some of which are quite famous, such as Abu Hanifa and Malik, both of which would go on to found two of the 4 Sunni schools of thought. He also taught the famous chemist Jabir ibn Hayyan, who is credited with having discovered the process of crystallization, calcinations, sublimation, and evaporation. Also, many Sufi orders claim to trace their lineage back to Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, although the truth of this matter is questionable. One thing is known. During his time teaching, Imam Ja'far would contribute more books, writings, and sayings to the Shia canon than any other Imam. This is why the Shia Twelver school is also referred to as the Ja'fari school. Now, the last of the Imams I want to talk about is, well, the 12th and last Imam. Now, the Shia believe that there must be an Imam at any point in time, but how is that possible if there was only ever 12 Imams, and the line started nearly 1400 years ago? Well, that's because the 12th Imam, Muhammad al-Mahdi, never actually died. So, after the death of his father, Imam Askari, the representative of Imam Askari, announced that he had a son, in secret due to Abbasid persecution. And this son, the 12th Imam, was currently in something referred to as the lesser occultation, where he would only access the Shia community through his letters. The last of these letters stated that the Imam would be entering the major occultation, during which the Shia community would have no access to him. He would remain in this major occultation until shortly before the Day of Judgment, when he would return to destroy tyranny and establish justice throughout the world. And with that, we come to an end of the video. I hope you're able to take away a somewhat brief overview of the core Shia belief. And if I got anything wrong, please correct me in the comments. I'm human, I'm not perfect. If you'd like to go deeper into your research of Shiism, I'd recommend these sources, as well as the website alislam.org, which is a free digital library of thousands of books by Shia authors.